Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for joining for our webinar this morning about memorial planning. My name is Dustin Petz, and I have the joy of serving as the president of the Kansas Methodist Foundation. Maybe you know about the Kansas Methodist Foundation. We're a not-for-profit started by the church, the conferences here in Kansas, and really work to help Methodist churches and ministries and individual families to be good stewards of the resources entrusted to us, to help people of faith um, grow in our generosity and be found faithful in how we live out our lives in connection to the whole of our lives, but most especially in connection to our resources. I'm grateful that you're here today. Thank you. Before we get started, I want to go through a couple of housekeeping things. We are actually recording this presentation, and then we'll later edit it and put it onto our website for others who would like to be able to be part of this, or some who maybe signed up and couldn't join for us today. So invite you to mute your microphone so that we don't have the background noise during the presentation. And then if you have questions, you can use the chat box within Zoom. If there seems to be an appropriate time where something's not being addressed, you can, as Tyler said earlier to those in the room, you can speak it up, or at the end we'll have a Q&A time where you can participate. So let me offer a prayer as we begin. Oh God, we give you thanks for this day that you have made and this season of Thanksgiving. God, we give you thanks for your generosity towards us, towards our neighbors. We give you thanks for your grace that is sufficient. God, we give you thanks also for the many people who have gone before us, that in these first days of November, we remember our saints, the saints of the church, the people who have so shaped our lives that we are who we are, in part because of their generosity, because of their love. God, we give you thanks for them. As we think about our legacy, and as we think about the impact we can make, and how we can give a gift to our loved ones who will be beyond us, give us strength, give us clarity, help us to know that you are at work with us and through us. God, it's into your hands that we place ourselves and those who are dear to us to your never failing love in this life and in the life to come. It's in Christ's name we pray this day. Amen. Presenting today for our memorial planning, a gift to my loved ones, is our team member and staff member, Tyler Curtis, who's the Chief Development Officer for the Kansas Methodist Foundation. Maybe you know about Tyler a bit. He brings over 20 years of experience in education and development to the foundation. Prior to working for the Kansas Methodist Foundation, he worked for Emporia State University in connection to their university advancement, alumni relations, and governmental affairs. He also has history in secondary education and administration, both serving as a teacher and then as a principal. He's got a bachelor's in education, a master's in education administration, as well as an executive certificate in transformational nonprofit leadership from Notre Dame. Tyler lives with his family in Emporia, and they're active members of First United Methodist Church. And I'm grateful to have Tyler on our team and grateful for you to present today. So we hear you gladly.
Well, thank you. Appreciate that, Dustin. And that sounded an awful lot like me with a few things. That doesn't sound like me, I guess, like to have some credentials behind them. So, but it's a pleasure to be here, a pleasure to be a part of this. It's a pleasure to see so many familiar faces. So thanks a lot for joining us today and being part of this presentation. Some of you have been through our Putting Your House in Order program and have probably seen at least parts of this presentation before. If so, no problem. That's not a problem at all. Sometimes repeated information is good information. But we do have some enhancements as well. And for you pastors who are in the room today, we've developed out kind of an addendum to our guide, and I'll show that to you just briefly at the end of the day. It'll be in the next iteration of the print version. and it'll soon be available online. I am happy to send you kind of a PDF copy of that page as well as we finish up today. So thanks for being here. It's a pleasure to be here, and let me share my screen. We will. You've probably gotten used to this if you've been to our programs before, but we will certainly send you a slide deck of this presentation after the webinar today. So you're welcome to take notes. You're free to take notes. You can take as many notes as you want. But at the same time, please know that you will have a copy of the information in PDF form at the conclusion as well. So we decided to create this as part of our Putting Your House in Order program, really at the advice and direction of some of the pastors who we have on our board of trustees. We were already talking about, estate planning and legacy giving, and then really some of our trustees, especially those who are our clergy members, said, one of the things that we don't know if families are well prepared for is the end of life, how that comes around, what kind of things are done, have they expressed their wishes to have memorials or funerals, or do they even know like a comprehensive list of people who need to be contacted and where the information is? We listened to that. We went and found some different resources, kind of cut and paste, so to speak, what we thought was maybe the best of the best together, and came up with our own guide. And by the way, at the end or any time, you can have as many of those guides as you want. For yourself, you can take them to Sunday school class, you can take them to your church, you can have them as a resource. Any of those things are free and available. And we just hope they serve well you and your family and your loved ones and friends. So we're going to talk a little bit about memorial planning and what that looks like. It's a little bit more than just the service. It's more about what all you need to put together at the to collect everything. But that's going to be the topic for the day. Dustin already talked to you about what the Methodist Foundation does and what our vision and work really is. We're a ministry, and that's a key thing to understand, that we are a foundation, but we're a ministry. We are in partnership with our churches, our conference. We're in partnership with our lay members throughout the conference and beyond to do the work that we're called to do as God's people. And that's the kind of thing that we love to do. That's what Dustin and I and Marissa and Gloria get up and do every day, is this work of ministry with people. And it just happens to be mainly focused on resources, but those resources are for one thing. Those resources are for ministry. And we define ministry very broadly. It's certainly supporting churches and camps and pantries and other kinds of outreach projects. And it's also supporting educational institutions and the places that we have in our nonprofit 501c3s that do great work that show the light of Christ in the world. So that's what we're here to do, to really help everybody create that abundance mindset, to see things with what Christ wants them to do with their resources and put those tools in place to do just that. We have a theology of money, and it's not our theology of money. It's really a Wesleyan theology of money. But it starts with this: God is the provider. God owns it all. Everything that we have is a gift from God. So we are therefore, and our role is to receive those gifts and then to steward those gifts. We have been entrusted with certain resources. We've been entrusted with all kinds of gifts and blessings. How do we then use those? Well, we are certainly called to use those things in a positive way. We are called to make a difference in the lives of others. And we are certainly blessed when we ourselves are a blessing to others. Wesley said it as, our job while we're here on earth is to certainly earn all we can, to save all we can. We have a responsibility to earn and take care of ourselves and our loved ones, to save back for retirement and times when we're not able to actively gain income through our work. and then also to give it to give what we can to help others. We have a fundamental understanding that everything we have on this earth is going to stay on this earth. What we do with it while we have it is what makes the difference. But we're not taking any of this stuff with us. So whatever we do have, whatever we're entrusted with, we're really called to do the work of Christ with it while we're here. So that's our theology. I love this little quote, by the way. It relates back to how we kind of see our role as stewards. And I just love this because it comes from a Cherokee mindset. And it so happens that we have, the first Native American bishop serving at the Great Plains Conference. But what Stan Rushworth said, he said, the difference between the Cherokee mindset and the Western settler, Western European, is the settler has rights. I have rights. The indigenous mindset is I have obligations. Instead of thinking that I'm born with rights, this is from the Native American's perspective, I choose to think that I'm born with obligations. I have responsibilities. And those responsibilities are people who have been before me, who are here now in the present, and are here and are going to come, of course, in the future generation. And of course, the planet itself. I just love that mindset. That is a stewardship mindset. My obligation, my commitment is to my past, my present, my future, as well as to the earth that God has blessed us with. That's a really healthy Christian way of viewing stewardship. So how does this relate to what we're doing? Well, we're stewards, right? And when it comes to our final plans and wishes, we're going to talk today about what do you need to document? What do you need to have written down for your family and friends as they do go about settling your affairs? Because someone's going to have to clean up your mess. We all have messes. I have a lot of messes. If I didn't have this screen behind me, you would see the mess that is the basement that I work from. So by all means, someone at some point is going to have to come in and clean out this massive record collection to my right that you can't see, and that my wife really would prefer you not see. And what stories, by the way, what stories you need to leave behind for that next generation? We're not only stewards of our money, we're stewards of our time and our talent, and we're stewards of the stories that have come before us. How do we document that? How do we document that we have a past and we have things that we want to pass on to this next generation? Where do we document that? What do you want to have as a memorial service? Do you want to have a memorial service? Do you want to have a funeral? Do you just want to go away and never be heard of again? Most of us have people that would probably not like if we did that. And then how do we organize and communicate these plans? That's our agenda for the day. We really think that this rings true. One of the best gifts that we can really give our family is the gift of confidence, and the confidence that they know that they're honoring our wishes. We never know when this is going to happen. And it's important to have it documented down. It's certainly a relief to your loved ones when it is documented and written down. My mother passed away in 2019. My father was still living and is still living, lives down the street from me here in the nursing home. And then my sister and I, we did the best that we possibly could. We thought we did what mom would maybe have wanted, but we didn't know for sure. It would have been an extra blessing if we would have had confidence and knowledge and things written down in a way that said, here are some things that would be really important to me. I hope I contacted all of her friends. I hope that I got everything down and people notified. I'm not sure. And it would be certainly a comfort if I would have known that. So it's important stuff. It's a really nice gift. It's one of the best gifts you can give to your family. So what needs to be shared? What needs to be shared? Well, when we leave this earth, it is helpful for your descendants to have your Social Security number. To have it logged down, if you have your card, it's strange to me that the government issues a number that is so important, and we put it on a little flimsy piece of paper, and we hope that you take care of it for the rest of your life. But that's the way it is. So, but that's going to be important because so many things, including your Social Security and other kind of benefits, are tied back to that Social Security number. So you need to have that written down somewhere. I know you need to have it written down in a place that's safe because there is a thing called identity theft, and you don't want that to happen. But your descendants are going to need that number. It's helpful that you have the names of your mother and father, the maiden name, and it's helpful to have that. So if that's something that it's not common knowledge for your loved ones, it's important to have that. It's important to know if you were married and what the date of that wedding was. Some education background, some brief work history, and some information about your kids. Why are those last 3 or 4 bullet points needed? Well, at some point, we're probably going to have some kind of an obituary written. And it's so nice to have those talking points, those points for that obituary logged somewhere, so you don't have to just try to come up with it out of the thin blue sky. So these are important things to document because someone's going to need them for sharing your story after you're no longer here. They need to know where that will, that last will and testament, where that trust is. They need to know where that place is, whether that's in a file cabinet, whether that's in a safe box, those kind of things. They need to know where that stuff is so they can find it and read it and do what you want them to do with your resources. They need to know the key people. So if you have a last will and testament, they need to be able to find your executor. If you have a trust, they need to be able to locate the successor trustee or trustees, as it may be. Some people have co-trustees or co-executors even, but they need to know who those people are because those people are the people that are going to be actually speaking for you and acting for you when it comes to your resource management after you're no longer here. So those people are super, super important because they're the voice of yours to carry out your wishes. If we can't find them, we don't have anybody to speak for you. Who is the physician? Who's the attorney, the CPA, the insurance agent? Where might you have important information stored related to health, related to your assets, related to your tax situation? Insurance agents are always helpful, especially when it comes to life insurance. So we're going to have to cancel those auto insurances and home insurances and those kind of things at the proper time. But we also want, if you've planned to have life insurance passed on to your descendants or to other loved ones through your estate plans, we want to make sure that those documents get done and those life insurance benefits are paid out. You paid premiums, so now at this time it's time to reap the benefit of that. Do you have a funeral home and do you have burial preferences? This is becoming more of a complex space than it used to be. You certainly have the option to be buried in the casket at a cemetery. That's still an option. Some people prefer to be cremated. There's also all kinds of different ways that bodies can be disposed of after death, and some people prefer to have more natural kinds of things done. There's all kinds of options. It's crazy. You can actually rent a casket for a funeral and then be cremated later. So if you still want to have the option of having people view and see you that one last time, you can do that. But if you don't want to be buried in a cemetery, you can be cremated afterwards. I tell you what, there's lots of options out there. It's like the Walmart of funeral homes. So you can do those things. What kind of service do you want? Do you want that more formal church service, that more formal funeral service? Do you want the formal funeral service followed by something that's more fun and relaxed? Do you want to skip the formality and go straight to the fun and more relaxed atmosphere? What do you want to have? Where do you want this to happen? Most of us, I mean, a lot of us have have migrated during our life. My dad was born and raised in Liberal. He lived there until he was 64 years old. He's lived in four other places in the last 11 years, but Liberal's kind of his home. That's where his mother and father are buried, but it's no longer his home. So these are kind of things that you need to think about. Maybe you want a place where you have a memorial because that's where all your friends are. Maybe you want to be buried somewhere else. My mother's buried in Cairo, Kansas. Cairo. It's outside of Pratt, between Pratt and Cunningham. That's where her family is. That's not where she grew up. That's where she's buried, though. That's where her family is. But we certainly didn't do her ceremony in Cairo. So where are those locations and where do you want those things to happen? Do you have a pastoral preference? We know that, the if you're a Methodist, the current pastor is the one that has the responsibility. But if you have somebody that you'd like to have do a service, there's always that courtesy that can be extended to allow that to happen. So if you have somebody like that, you might want to name them. Do you want certain people to give eulogies, to give comments? Do you want certain scriptures read, songs sung, songs performed? Do you want to have a gravesite or not? That used to be common practice. At this point, for some reason, I have the ability to go to a lot of funerals. It's now about 1 in 3, 1 in 4 have the graveside. It's more common to not. So, but if you want that, that's something that's all right, especially if you're going to be maybe interned somewhere else that's not where you have your service. Maybe you have a small graveside at your home, your childhood home, and something for the masses other places. So lots of options here, and you get to share what your preferences are. What else needs to be shared? What's your thoughts on flowers? Do you have certain clothing? Do you want memorial gifts? Do you want memorial gifts in lieu of flowers? I see more and more of those options, right? Like, man, I love flowers. They're great, but ultimately the flowers don't last very long and they're expensive. So I would rather that money go to my memorial. Just as a plug, and we have to plug this, right? If you have a legacy fund, if you have a place where your comprehensive giving is flowing, that can be the receptacle of your memorial fund. So if your legacy fund has 2, 3, 4, 5 different beneficiaries, you can certainly allow people to choose to give to one of those places, or you can just have them give it straight to your legacy fund, and then it's going to go to those places anyway. So if you've already predetermined what you want your legacy to be in terms of your charity, you can direct people to give to that legacy fund as well as part of your memorial. The obituary. We alluded to this a little bit ago, but you can either write one yourself, and some people do that, but at least provide the information so that it can be written on your behalf. It's so much easier when that information is in a single place and we can access it, get it down onto paper, and send it out. Is that my hand that went up? I'm not sure how my hand went up, but I don't think I have a question for myself, but the hand raising function does work. So you can write one yourself, or you can just document the information and have people write it for you later. What kind of other things should you document? Well, some of those are stories. Some of those are stories about your memories of maybe your parents. Think about maybe those future grandchildren, future grandnieces, grandnephews, future friends that maybe just want to know that information. Document that. Document some of those things. People will treasure those, especially as they get older. I'm kind of tipping into that part of my life where it's really interesting for me to learn more about people's stories and childhood and that kind of stuff, and for me to maybe be a little nostalgic about my own. Document those things. How about grandparents? My kids will never know my grandfather. on my dad's side, J.C. Curtis. They will never know him. The only thing they'll know are stories that I tell of him and other people tell of him because he was gone before they were born. Um, my dad's mom, she was alive when they were born, but she had dementia, and so they don't remember the grandma that I knew when I was growing up. They don't know the grandma, the mom of my dad, and so on and so forth. So those are really important stories to have. And what about special memories of your kids, your friends, maybe your hobbies and your travels? By the way, at the end of life, this is a great time to remind people about how your faith has impacted your life. You know, one of the things that we know about the demographics of faith in this country is that it's on the decline, and that's sad. And we can lament in that, and certainly we sometimes wonder why. But you know, one of those things is maybe we haven't talked about it enough. Maybe we haven't shared that, you know, my faith has really gotten me through some really tough times. My faith keeps me centered. My faith keeps me confident and understanding and optimistic and unified with the body of God's family. So this is a key time to remind people. This is a time where they're going to come together and remember you and celebrate your life. What a great opportunity and time to share how your relationship with God and your relationship with Christ made your life better, and invite them to have that same experience. Other important information, you know, where are the bank accounts at? You may have one checking, you may have one saving, you may have multiple ones. So where do we go to get those? Because ultimately we have to close those things out. We have to finalize those things. So we need to know where it's at. The credit cards, let's get those canceled ASAP. Because if there's one place that's ripe for being abused, it's using a deceased person's credit card before it's closed, right? So let's make sure we get all those things closed out. Your executor has a responsibility of paying your debts, obligations, and funeral admin costs. So make sure that they know how to close those things out. The auto insurance, hey, you're no longer driving. Let's get that off and quit paying. The health insurance, you know, once again, no need to pay that any further. We're no longer needing those things. Retirement accounts, pension accounts, those usually have some kind of residual. If they're a pension, it may just go away. There may be a survivor benefit on those pensions. So we need to know about that. Retirement accounts, if there are balances on there, knowing where those go to next, and making sure that people understand that, you know, those kind of accounts have tax implications, especially if they're traditional IRAs and those kind of things. So giving people an understanding of where those things are, and then they can make decisions on whether they use those resources for charitable gifts or for inheritance purposes. So where are those things at? Life insurance policies, again, so important, right? If you've invested in a whole life insurance policy, it's time to reap that benefit. That's why you got it. You got it so that your loved ones after you would benefit from it. They need to know where it's at. Investment accounts, absolutely need to know where those are held at and how to handle those investments so that we can transfer those again to beneficiaries or charities. The real estate holdings, having deeds, having documents of where that real estate is. We're going to have to figure out where that stuff goes next, right? Whether we sell it and distribute the income, whether we pass it on and transfer that deed to another person or persons. Those are things that we didn't know about. Do you have loans? Do you have loans that you're paying on? Or do you have people that you've made loans to that you expect to be paid back? The only loan that you give out that's ever going to come back to you after death is one you have documented. So if you have loaned somebody money and that you expect to be paid back, that needs to be in writing. If you've loaned somebody money and you don't expect to be paid back, nothing like a little statement that just says, hey, I gave a loan, they have a balance, upon death, it's forgiven. If that's your wishes, then document that. If you expect to be paid back, then document that. That way your executor, that way your successor trustee knows how to handle that. This is a big one. Social media accounts and passwords. As you all know, we certainly live in a digital environment. You probably have more usernames and passwords than you know what to do with. Those are also the way to get into those accounts so many times. As my dad has transitioned from independent to assisted to nursing home care, oh my goodness, we've had to really dig into things. And I serve as his durable power of attorney for health and finance. So contacting places like insurance companies, Medicare, Social Security, all those kind of places, oh my goodness, it's a mess. And of course, the most common thing that you do when you call this number is, well, go online. Well, you don't understand. I don't have the account number. I don't have the account username password. It can be a lot easier to do it that way. It can also be a bear if you don't have the initial username and account set up with a password and pass that along. So those are really important things, and I'll show you at the end a way to perhaps document those in a way that's safe, secure, and also maybe easier for certainly your folks that come after you, your descendants, but perhaps even during life as well. So important stuff to try to figure out how to access all those things. These are the two resources that I was going to give you to consider. Bitwarden is an online password manager that allows you to have one username and password that unlocks a bank of all of your other username and passwords. I am not speaking on behalf of Bitwarden, but there's numerous of these out there. This is one that has been recommended to me by a fellow Putting Your House in Order participant who works at K-State Research and who deals with a lot of very sensitive information in research. K-State has put their trust in Bitwarden for their research documents. I've worked for a university. I understand the kind of protocols that IT has on partners that they have. If they can't build it themselves, they're very choosy about the kinds of security behind other platforms. Take it for what it is. Take it for what it's worth. K-State trusts Bitwarden. That probably gives you some assurance that it's been thoroughly vetted. But this is a way that you can come up with one. To tie that one username, that one password, remember it, and then you unlock it, and then you have a data bank of all the other ones. Now you have to keep it up to date. That you can't forget about it after you set it up, but it is a way to keep all those and manage those numerous usernames and passwords. The other tool that I wanted to pass along to you is a tool called Storyworth. There's other ones available out there as well. I have some experience with this one. My father-in-law has been using it to document his story. But what it is the person who sets this up comes up with like 52 questions. They get to choose from a bank. They come up with 52 questions. The person responds to those questions and then documents. So at the end, you have a digital kind of PDF version. You can also get as many hard copies as you want if you want to print hard copy of it. That's probably where Storyworth makes the majority of their money, probably. But it is a great way though to document those stories of your childhood. I mean, questions like tell us about your first car. Who was your first girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever date that you went on. It's a way of documenting some of those life moments that may or may not come up in casual conversation, and frankly may or may not be remembered. But it's things that tell your story that can't be left behind. So those are two resources that I encourage you to consider as you're documenting things out. Obviously, the other resource that I'd certainly recommend to you is this guide that we put together. So we will provide you with as many copies, like I said, as you'd like, of this guide called To My Loved Ones, a guide for planning my my affairs. Um, this guy's going to offer you plenty of places to store the information that we've just talked about. So just to kind of give you an idea of what that could look like. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to not share my screen. I meant to just do that on my screen. Sorry about that. So just to give you an idea of what this tool kind of looks like, when you open it, and you can open it online, we'll give you a link, and you can also get the hard copy. But we'll just kind of give you a little bit of some intro text here, so you have an idea what it is, and of course a table of contents. Very exciting stuff. We'll give you a prompt, to start of a letter. This might not be the letter that you want to leave to your family, but it might give you a start. Gives you a starting point that, hey, now that I'm gone, here are some things that I want you to know about, and a good starting point. So you might write your own. You might use this as a template. This is probably the most valuable thing that we offer in this guide, is this checklist. This is not for you. This is not a checklist for you. This is a checklist for your loved one. What loved one do you need to do now that I'm no longer here? You need to locate all these things. You need to go through my bills, all that kind of stuff. So it's going to give your successor, it's going to give those beneficiaries that come later a list of things to do. Comprehensive. We keep it to one page, but it gives them a task sheet, a direction. Again, the best gift you can sometimes give to somebody is confidence. This gives them some confidence that they're taking the next steps and doing what's needed. So there's a checklist there. There's places for you to document those key people, other contacts. If you have Social Security, or if you're a veteran, where to contact to get those benefits, and make sure that policies are closed and those kind of things. They're going to need to know your information, so this is a great place to store it. You can fill this out and leave it behind. Again, you're going to have that Social Security number to close things out, so you document it here. A little bit about your background. This kind of gives them some idea of what information is going to be included in your obituary. The legal documents, what do you have? What should I be looking for? Do you have a will, or do you have a trust? Do you have those durable powers? Not so important at death so much as it is during life for those, but just to know all those things. Military service, document that. Military service is a big deal. We just had Veterans Day yesterday. So if you're a veteran, thank you for your service. But documenting that down so that can be included, as well as Mill's making sure that there might be some benefits attached to that. Where your children are, how we get a hold of them. You get the idea. This is not rocket science, but it's stuff that you need to document and do, so that your executor, your successor, is not having to comb through things and try to find where all this stuff is. So that's what the guide does for you. It provides you with a platform. It provides you with a tool or resource to do these things. What we will be adding to this guide is a tool that we were able to develop alongside some pastors, because we've understood, especially in smaller churches, smaller towns, smaller churches, and maybe even with just some of the audiences that we have to serve, that we do serve, that we have the privilege of serving. Not always is there going to be a funeral home involved. And as I was talking to these pastors about this, they were telling me, we used to rely on the funeral home to do a lot of the overhead, oversight, administration of these things. We did the services and the meals, but that was about it. So we know how to do a service. We know how to conduct a funeral. We know all those things, but we don't know about, if people want flowers, what happens to those flowers, and where are they displayed, and how are they disposed of afterwards? Like, the funeral homes to come in and put the flowers up and tear them down at the end. Well, if you don't have a funeral home, now they're in your sanctuary. What happens to them? I don't know. how to communicate with deceased people, the descendants, the ones that are left behind there. Where do we place this urn at the funeral service? How do we recruit ushers to do different things? These are lists of tasks that, from a clergy perspective, we understood were really needed because a lot of these things are done by funeral home directors and their staff. And when you don't have that, this is a tool for you to kind of refer back to. So that will be part of our guide. And by all means, if you need something beforehand, I can get you a copy of that. So that's what the guide does. That's what the purpose of this To My Loved Ones booklet is. So, when it comes to tying everything together, kind of big picture, what do you need to do? What do you really need to do to have a comprehensive plan for exiting the earthly kingdom and entering the heavenly kingdom? You've got to have an estate plan, because the estate plan is going to name people that represent you, and it's going to transfer the physical assets that you have, whether it's tangible or intangible. It's going to transfer the money, the property, everything else to the next generation to where you want it to go. You got to have one of it. You got to have a plan for how your stuff gets distributed. If you have a thought and a will to have a legacy, a charitable legacy, you need to have that done ahead of time, so that you can support those meaningful causes, and so that you can remind this world that you loved them and you remembered them and you want them to continue, again, to kind of be the hands and feet of Christ in the world that is here after you're no longer here. And then when it comes to assisting your families and your friends, you've got to have that final plan and wishes documented out so that they know, that they have confidence that here's how you want to be remembered, here's who needs to be contacted, and here are those stories that are going to persist throughout your family after you're no longer here. So that's really how we put all of this together. Those are the three big pieces of preparing to enter the kingdom after our earthly existence. We do have a Putting Your House in Order series of cohorts that will be announced in 2025. So if you haven't gone through that, or if you have people that you'd like to go through that, you can sign up for those. You can register for those and get on the waiting list and those kind of things. New for 2025, we'll have an on-demand option. So we currently do these via Zoom, in like Zoom kind of meetings, kind of like this, in kind of a class kind of setting, where we present information, have conversation, and then connect in between sessions. We do one on estate planning, legacy giving, and memorial planning. But in the on-demand version, you're going to be able to access that content on your own time, at your own pace, and at your own convenience. So if 7 o'clock on Tuesday doesn't work for you, or if 10 o'clock on Monday isn't good, then you're going to have that option in 2025 to do that content, and you'll still be asked to do some time one-on-one in between those major parts of the program. So we'll still have some guidance for you, but it will also be something you can do on your own time at your pace and your convenience. So be looking for those. Cohorts usually start about the middle of February, and then we'll roll out the on-demand session pretty soon after the interview. So be looking for that information too. This is a great way to get all of this stuff done in a fairly succinct amount of time, and give you some guidance and some structure to accomplish those things. So I will stop there and see if there are questions in the room, or even insights that you might have. Some of you have, like I said, have seen this guide before, have maybe used it. But if you have insights, suggestions, questions, please let me know, and we'll answer those out. Dustin and I both are available for those.
I actually appreciate the online PDF fillable version, and the way that my family uses it is to fill it out, but then it's easy to update if changes happen. and I kind of email myself and my spouse the document so we can go and find it if it's ever needed. In addition to having, a printed version that's with the other documents. So I like that it has that ability within it.
That's the nice thing about the fillable form, right? Is once you've done it, it's not set in stone. It's you can edit, delete, copy, whatever you need to do there. So hopefully it is something you can keep pace with easier over time rather than trying to redo all of the written form on a hard copy. Yeah. Other questions or other thoughts or insights or suggestions? Go ahead, Larry.
I thought of one in both having both parents pass away. One of the things that was helpful is to having extra death certificates that then were helpful with banks and different things of legal issues. But that would be the only addition. I appreciate very much what you've put together, and that's what I offer.
Yeah, Larry, thanks for pointing that out. I think in our checklist we recommend 10 death certificates. That you may need more, you may need less. Start with 10 because you're exactly right. It's amazing how many times you need those to prove that the deceased is actually deceased. So certainly worth investing in a few of those, having them handy. And even if you don't use them for documentation for benefits and stuff, it's still something you can put like in the folder to document later. I have death certificates for my paternal grandparents, my maternal grandparents, and even some of their other relatives. And from maybe a family ancestry kind of perspective, they can be helpful then too. So thank you. Yeah. Other thoughts, site suggestions?
No,
Go ahead, Jane.
I have a question about security on the documents that we can fill out online.
Okay.
Because we're putting some things in there that would make it very easy for people to.
Sure. So it's hosted online. You save it to your own computer, your own drive. So it's as secure as your network is, if that makes sense. It's not saved on our platform or on our servers. It's not even saved on the web. It's really downloaded and saved on your computer. But it's available online so you can access it. Great question. Great question. So as long as you're confident in the security of your network, it should be okay. But I completely understand that is a concern, and the way hackers work, I have no idea. The cybersecurity is a big deal. It's a big deal. Other questions, thoughts, suggestions?
Jane, I was thinking if you could put into the document where the person could find the information. So, for instance, I've got life insurance with AIG or whatever it is, and the policy is found here. So I don't put the policy number in there, but maybe the contact information and to help my child know what I ought to be looking for, and then where I can go find it in hard copy if there was a concern. I think that'd be an option.
Yeah,
It's a good idea too.
and I think you always have to, in the business of planning for something that we don't know how it's going to happen or when it's going to happen, as many contingencies as possible are needed, right? So having things secured in a fire safe, having things secured in a manner that if there was a fiery situation, that it would still be preserved. That's probably the advantage of some cloud-based kind of systems. If things were destroyed from a catastrophe. So I think, redundancy is really important with security in mind. So do you have a redundant system, but also each one of those redundancies is secured? It's nothing that you have to have a lot of anxiety around. most of the time, most of us are going to pass away, and there's not going to be a catastrophe. There's not going to be all these things. It's going to be pretty, by the book, so to speak. But at least have it in mind. What if it'll keep your plans there. Other thoughts, questions, suggestions? Well, thanks for taking the time. Appreciate you all being involved and engaged in today's activity. We'll send you a PDF version of the slide deck. I'll go ahead and attach the addendum related to what to do if perhaps a funeral home's not available to help you with those services. In case it's relevant to you. We'll send you a link to the online fillable form as well, so that you have access to that. But appreciate everybody's attendance. Appreciate your commitment to making sure that this is the kind of work that you do, because it's going to be meaningful to those who come after you. So if you want to leave your loved ones with confidence and assurance, and give them space to grieve, I think that's really important. After people die, it's really easy to get busy, and then all of a sudden we forget to grieve. And unfortunately, we're busiest when we have the most support. So during that funeral, during those family gatherings, when all that support's there, we get busy. And it's not until they're all gone that we seem to have space to grieve. Well, maybe this will help give us some space to grieve and not be so busy, because a lot of the work is done ahead of time. So what that's worth as well. But thank you so much. Appreciate it, and hope to be in contact with you and minister with you as we go forward.
Thank you all for presenting this info and your patience, because there's some of us that keep coming back. One of these days we'll get it all done. Amen.
We as Christians are waiting people, right?
Yes.
Amen.
We're waiting on others.
Thank
Great.
you, Tyler. This was really helpful. Appreciate it.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Have a great day. Enjoy it. It's beautiful outside.